Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible medical mysteries out there, one that seriously might hold the key to repairing the human spinal cord someday. We're looking at some groundbreaking research that completely flips how we understand the body's response to spinal cord injuries. Basically, we're comparing how different species handle the exact same kind of trauma. It's a wild story involving cellular garbage trucks, actual genetic superpowers, and a hidden biological engine that could literally be the blueprint for reversing paralysis. So here's the core mystery we're trying to solve. If a human, or really any mammal, suffers a severe spinal cord injury, well, the damage is almost always permanent. But if an adult zebrafish gets its spinal cord completely severed, it doesn't just survive, it actually swims again within a matter of weeks. No way, right? Like, what does this tiny fish have that we don't? Okay, let's dive into this and look at exactly what happens at the cellular level right after an injury occurs.
The whole difference really boils down to how the immune system reacts to the trauma. In mammals, the response is pretty much defined by chronic, devastating inflammation. Our immune cells rush to the site, but they totally fail to clear the wreckage, and that leads to this sustained scar tissue that permanently blocks any nerve regrowth. But the zebrafish, it mounts a super acute, highly effective immune response. It's like a massive, immediate cleanup effort that just gets the job done quickly and then, poof, shuts down, leaving a perfectly clear path for new nerves to grow.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that works. Look closely at how the cellular debris is actively broken down, what researchers call fatty acid catabolism. It's done by a very specific set of immune cells. That super efficient debris clearance is the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for axon regeneration to even happen. I mean, think about it. The nerves simply cannot reconnect if the road is blocked by a bunch of trash. Now, to really get this cleanup process, we have to talk about phagocytosis. You can think of phagocytes, specifically a type of cell called a macrophage, as a fleet of cellular garbage trucks. When there's a massive pileup on the spinal cord highway, these macrophages flood the zone. They literally eat and digest the dead cells and the broken nerve fibers. If this cleanup crew doesn't its job, well, the highway stays closed forever. In the zebrafish, this whole process is incredibly timed. Right after the injury happens, macrophages flood the zone and rapidly eat up all that cellular debris. But here's the real magic. Once the debris is gone, they pack up and go home. They don't stick around. With the inflammation gone and the physical debris totally cleared out, the axons, those long cables of the nerve cells, can seamlessly regenerate and reconnect across the gap. Now, what's really interesting here is that you can actually see this exact timeline under a microscope. Look at how the macrophage numbers completely spike right after the injury, right around day 3. But check out what happens by day 14 and day 28. The numbers plummet right back down to pre-injury levels. This is the visual proof that the zebrafish immune response is strictly temporary. The cleanup crew does its job, and then they just get right out of the way. So you're probably wondering, why do mammalian garbage trucks fail where the fish absolutely succeed? It actually has to do with the specific nature of the trash itself. The debris left behind after a spinal cord injury is incredibly rich in lipids, fats. The protective coating around our nerves, the myelin, gets completely shredded, and it leaves behind this massive, messy spill of fat right at the injury site. And these lipid-rich debris molecules are highly toxic to growing nerves. They essentially act like chemical roadblocks, actively forcing any growing nerve fibers to just collapse and retreat. And this is precisely where the mammalian response completely falls apart. When our mammalian macrophages try to eat this fat-heavy debris, their internal engines literally stall out. They just can't process the lipids. So instead of digesting the fat, they just hoard it. They become these massively bloated, toxic entities known as foam cells. These foam cells will just sit at the injury site for months or even years, causing chronic inflammation. But the zebrafish macrophages? They're like high-capacity engines. They don't just eat the fat, they rapidly burn it for energy and keep right on moving. All right, moving to our next section, the secret weapon. Enter the tcim gene. So how exactly do the fish burn the fat that completely chokes our immune cells? Well, by comparing which genes are turned on and off across species, the researchers noticed something absolutely incredible. Right after a spinal cord injury, zebrafish massively upregulate, they turn on, a gene called tcim inside their macrophages. Mammals, on the other hand, we actually do the exact opposite. Our macrophages downregulate tcim. And what does this little gene do? It acts as the master regulator of lipid metabolism. It's essentially the ignition switch for the biological incinerator that burns away all that toxic fat. To prove just how crucial this gene is, the researchers did this brilliant knockout experiment. They genetically engineered zebrafish to lack the tcim gene entirely. And the results? Totally dramatic. Without that single gene, the zebrafish's incredible healing powers just vanished. Their macrophages suddenly acted exactly like ours. They got bloated with lipids, they failed to clear the debris, and the spinal cord healing stopped entirely cold.
When you look at the actual cells under a microscope, you can see the mutant cells getting chronically clogged. Because they lack the tcim gene, they totally fail to digest the fat, causing bright green blobs of unprocessed lipids to just build up. But over in the normal cells, you see a much more efficient processing system at work. The normal macrophages are successfully engulfing the debris and breaking it right down, preventing that toxic, foamy buildup from ever happening. This changes absolutely everything. If the lack of tcim activity is what causes mammalian macrophages to fail, what happens if we give them an upgrade? Like, could the zebrafish superpower actually be transferred to mammals? The researchers decided to test this by taking the human version of the tcim gene, because yeah, we actually do have it, we just don't activate it correctly during these injuries, and forcing cells to express it.
So, the crucial point here is the results of this upgrade, which were just incredible. First off, they added the human tcim gene into zebrafish, and it actually accelerated their already amazing debris clearance. They healed even faster. But more importantly, they introduced the human tcim gene into cultured mouse macrophages. The result? It dramatically boosted their ability to take up and break down those lipids. The mammalian cells were suddenly acting just like those high-capacity zebrafish cells.
By forcing the expression of the human tcim gene, the researchers successfully reprogrammed the mammalian response. It takes immature immune cells and forces them to become highly active phagocytes. It actually physically enhances the acidic environment inside the cells so they can dissolve all that engulfed debris. And most importantly, it kicks lipid metabolism into total overdrive. That prevents those stagnant, toxic foam cells from forming in the first place.
Which really leaves us with this final, kind of profound thought. You know, we've always viewed spinal cord injuries as a problem of nerves simply refusing to grow. But this research, it suggests we might just have a garbage problem. The debris from the injury is a massive roadblock, and our cellular garbage trucks get stranded right in the middle of the mess. So could upgrading our cellular cleanup crews, maybe through gene therapies utilizing tcim, be the key to one day curing human paralysis? It's a thrilling possibility, and to think it all started just by watching a tiny fish heal its broken back. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.